What is your method, or how do you handle rejection? Whether that be auditions, companies turning you down, or just curveballs in life. Would love to hear what your strategy is. I think that because, I'm gonna be 39 in September, I feel like with age really does come wisdom if you subject yourself to enough personal growth through experiences and taking risks. It matures you just out of that because you go through things, right? And so things you might not be comfortable with. Yeah, for me, because my identity wasn't from the start to be a model, I actually was a photographer for many, many years, and prior to that, I worked in the video game industry for 7 years. So I'll get to that through in another question, actually. I'm kind of excited about talking about that. But I feel like because my identity is not rooted in a career, it's still hard to separate that as a guy. Like, I just want to provide for myself and the people I love, and you want to be productive. The rejection thing just doesn't bother me too much. I'll go to castings and it'll go super good and I don't hear anything back, and I really don't dwell on it because, like I said earlier, you have no idea what the factors are. There could be so many things. They might have just wanted a guy, after all, that was more ethnically ambiguous, or someone with green eyes, or someone with blonde hair. So I'd rather just write it off like that rather than be like, man, like, what did I do wrong? Of course, after every audition, casting job, I always go like, what could I have done better? And I actually have some videos on that on my channel I should check out, because I think that I'm always trying to refine. I'm always going to it with an attempt to look through humble eyes rather than walking in with arrogance and being like, oh, you guys should have hired me, like, what were you thinking, because every job's so different, and the chemistry is like hit and miss sometimes on shoots, and you just gotta roll with it and see what you could have done better, like I said. My strategy is just don't stake your identity in anything that's not really worth it. Like, it should be something way beyond, in my opinion, than just a career, because these are all things you could lose. So staking in your identity in anything that can be lost easily is seriously risky. I was just laughing because me and Katie were bantering about things right now. And I will segue into the next question. What are you grateful for? From Annemarie. I'm grateful for Katie, for sure. She has brought a lot in my life. She's been super supportive, incredibly encouraging, not, out for herself. And it's just amazing how giving and sacrificial she's been. And I feel like I'm super grateful that we both have lifestyles and jobs that kind of complement each other. So it's been really nice to have that full support and an understanding. It's pretty tough if you've dated someone, or you've been with someone in the past that just has a totally different view of what you do and lifestyle maybe, or profession, because it's really important to have a respect there and to enter into that. And so yeah, that's one thing I'm very grateful for. All right, moving right along. This one's kind of interesting. It might be something you guys don't know about me. You mentioned that you worked for Midway and had wanted to do 3D graphics modeling in the past. Does modeling satisfy your creative side, or do you still do other things on the side? If so, is it something you would share in future videos? This is from Alexis. Good question, or questions. I'll just jump to the middle part. Modeling definitely satisfies my creative side because it's this collaborative thing with a bunch of creatives, and you know that you're part of this collaborative effort, and you get to see the final product, whether it be a commercial or an awesome print ad. And you get to see how the stylist works with you and their vision for how you're going to look on camera. You get to see the creative direction and how they shoot it and why, and all the various elements that come together. So yeah, I think being a model, you still have a big role to play, because your energy the way you carry yourself, it really sells the image or the commercial. I mean, I think it's pretty easy to tell if someone's not connected to a project or a performance. You can tell with bad acting, good acting, if they're really in that zone. So I think that's a fun challenge, and it definitely satisfies my creative side. And I do have a pretty big creative side. It's a big part of who I am. I actually, like I said earlier in the video, been a photographer for many years. I had a photography studio with my ex-wife, and we had a business with staff, shooters, and it got pretty big, and we did really well for many years. About 13 years I was involved in that. We shot a plethora of things, and I still shoot now actually, and have been shooting. So I've shot, you know, headshots for models and tests like that, smaller stuff, along like when I have time and everything. But I have been shooting consistently for a company I model for called ASRV, which has been awesome. They're such a cool company. It's sportswear, and so I get to go on the other side of the lens. I'm actually going to be shooting for them again in a couple weekends. And I like to shoot a lot of explosive stuff that they ask for, so you end up working with really cool models that are more in the fitness realm and calisthenics and stuff, and it's just really, really fun. So I still get to experience that creative side when I'm actually shooting, and it really helps to have been on both sides, because I get the whole scope of it, and I understand what they're going through and what I need to get, and it's really easy to communicate because of that. So prior to that, yeah, out of high school, I had been into video games, and it really captured my imagination in a lot of ways. And so I thought, you know, I didn't have like a ton of direction at the time in terms of what I really, really wanted to do. So I was like, okay, I think this sounds pretty interesting. And my grandfather was an engineer for an airline, and I feel like I have that part of my mind that's very curious in terms of what it would take to, you know, sit down on a computer and learn something like 3D modeling. But in the end, what ended up happening is really funny, is the advertising arts school that I was going to at the time happened to be down the street from Midway Games. And if you're familiar with Midway Games, they're famous for Mortal Kombat and a few other franchises they had. And so, you know, just out of high school, I think I was like, yeah, 19, turning 20. I would drive by while I was doing this advertising arts program that had 3D modeling, and I'm like, man, I should just stop in there and like see if I can get a tour or something. So I did one day, and it just so happened, I don't know if it was just serendipitous, but the testing manager for quality assurance happened to be in the lobby, and he said, yeah, hey, come on back, I'll give you a tour or whatever. And he showed me how he led a department that worked on quality assurance, so they have to make sure that from the pre-alpha to alpha to beta to final stage, these stages of a game while it's being developed, that they made sure that all the bugs were out, that all the glitches and everything. And there are thousands, and many released with many bugs actually to this day. So anyways, I was like, well, this is the industry that I want to be in, so, you know, maybe I should ask for an interview, just see what happens. And I interviewed like a week later, got the job, and I just reassessed everything, and I was like, I could have this full-time job in the industry, and it paid well at the time, and you know, really just start from the stupid temp. Sorry, the camera overheated because I tend to go on and on. By the way, if you want to just like double tap on the YouTube thing, the screen, I think if you're on mobile it'll do that. It'll skip like 10 seconds ahead. If you're just not interested in this question, not a big deal. So yeah, I got the job, it was great. I started to work my way up in quality assurance. So you know, I was working with a team, and then we'd send the bugs that we try to find to the programmers. Programmers would send new build where they fixed, and then you work with Sony and Microsoft and submit to them until, you know, you get approval, and then hopefully the game's good to go, and it goes on the shelves, and it's a pretty cool process. But so I worked my way up, and I didn't end up doing 3D modeling after I was in QA for about 4 or 5 years. I had the opportunity to interview for a production job as an assistant producer. I decided at the time, when I was trying to learn 3D modeling outside of work, that it just wasn't for me. It was too much time on a computer, wasn't interacting with people enough, I didn't like it after all, and it was extremely tedious. Much respect for those who do it, it's a hard job. So anyways, I interviewed for the assistant producer position. I got it. It was pretty awesome because I was the youngest producer they had ever hired, and it felt like really encouraging to me at that age to have like a little office space and be able to be so involved in the games. You know, I got from the start of the game design document and having influence on the features and being able to see how the art department works with the other departments, and how production kind of just oversees the whole thing basically from start to finish. So it was pretty awesome. I feel super grateful for that experience. So yeah, I was there for 7 years, and then that's when I had the opportunity to leave with severance pay. The company was getting bought out by Warner Brothers at the time, and I worked on some awesome projects, including some of the Mortal Kombat. It was a transition where I used that severance pay. I had just got married and started a photography business that I mentioned. All right, so the next question is jumping back to the modeling industry. So Julien Chang says, do you think modeling is a rather superficial industry? Yes and no. I've actually been pleasantly surprised. And I think, let me sit down here, the wind is probably annoying. There's a difference between being a model in high fashion, that high fashion world, and being a model who does a mixture of commercial, lifestyle, e-commerce, yeah, the stuff I mentioned, like automotive, because those are all brands a lot of people don't think of that actually have really big budgets and spend a lot on advertising and marketing. So, you know, if you were to look at my portfolio, like client list, it's really like not that much fashion at all. It's all household names, like brands that, you know, when you're on set, it reflects the type of attitude that the crew has, in my opinion. So if I'm doing like a shoot for Hyundai, I remember being out in Yuma, Arizona for that one, and everyone was just super easygoing on set. We were shooting in this cool 50s type diner, and you know, when you're not dealing with egos of fashion designers and stuff like that, I feel like it's pretty chill. It's not superficial. People are just excited to be there and enjoy the creative process. However, when I have done fashion related things like runway shows, I had opened for LA Fashion Week, and they did a small show for New York Fashion Week, and then more recently did one in Milan, and I think that was like my 4th or 5th show, because I did some smaller ones that I forgot I had done over the years. And the vibe is just much different. It's definitely way more yeah, ego driven and status. I get it, it's just how it is, but I don't really connect with it as much. I'm still grateful for the opportunity. It's still interesting to me, but I definitely don't thrive in it. So it can be superficial. Is it superficial? You know, I'm trying to like think from the perspective of maybe the question being asked, what the mindset was there, that, you know, my job is based on how I look. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's somewhat superficial. It's about my aesthetic, but I also think that somebody's got to do it. And for me, it's kind of cool because, like I said earlier, my identity's not in it, so I can use this platform to affect people in all sorts of other ways, and just it's a vehicle, if anything. So I think that's kind of nice. And I'm already like a big health and fitness like nut, so for me, I'm always looking ways to refine. So this is just another level of that. And whether it's personal style, grooming, again, anything related to health and fitness, over the years that I've learned now through the modeling industry, I can take that and share that with you guys, whether or not you're in the industry at all. It still might, you know, like I say in all my videos, improve your quality of life. So I think there's a lot to it if you don't, you know, have tunnel vision about it and just say, oh, it's just like so superficial, this and that. Because I think health is wealth, and if you do take care of yourself, you know, not just internally but aesthetically as well, it does give you a little bit more confidence. Like, I gotta admit, like it's really nice if someone gives you a compliment about, you know, your hair, your skin, your clothes, how you're dressed. Like, it feels good. Does it is it the deepest thing, you know? It's not where I get all my meaning, you know, every day, but it's nice. So